Joining us now is Colorado Congressman Ken Buck. Congressman, thank you so much for coming on today. As we learned from the DOJ filing last night, 36 pages here, boxes of documents were taken from Mar-a-Lago. Keep in mind, we don't know the exact details of them, what materials specifically they were. All we got was a photograph of what they were, and they were blacked out, top secret, but we don't have the details. Was all of this justified, in your opinion?
I think that the Department of Justice could have found a less intrusive way of getting these documents. They were in negotiations with President Trump. It's clear from how they handled the Hillary Clinton situation a few years ago that the FBI has other methods, other ways of dealing with a former president or former Secretary of State in that case who had documents. I think it's really important to make sure the American people feel that the FBI, the Department of Justice, is not partisan, is not picking sides, is not treating President Trump differently than Secretary Clinton.
Do you think, based on the president's response, this claim of executive privilege and then also his ability to declassify documents, do you think that is legitimate in his response?
I don't think that, there's a process that he has to go through if he wants to declassify documents. I haven't seen the evidence that he has actually gone through that process. And I think that in terms of executive privilege, it would be executive privilege as to conversations or as to any kind of memorialization of conversations. But the fact that he had classified documents, we just don't know what's in those classified documents at this point. But oftentimes conversations with an individual are covered by executive privilege, but not necessarily classified.
Yeah, the hearing for the special master, again, set for tomorrow. We'll be watching it closely. If we could, let's turn to the ongoing crisis at our southern border. We've got new data from a Rasmussen poll. Shows this: 50% of Americans give President Biden a poor ranking for his handling of immigration issues. 54% say illegal immigration is getting worse in this response. And then 45% say immigration will be a very important issue in the upcoming midterm elections. Congressman, how would you evaluate the president's handling of our border crisis?
I think it's absolutely disgraceful. I think that Secretary Mayorkas should resign or President Biden should fire Secretary Mayorkas. We've never seen a situation where an individual who has been charged with enforcing the law has walked away from his responsibilities. President Trump's administration showed us exactly what was needed to have a border that was secure, but at the same time, an immigration policy that was open and fair. The Remain in Mexico plan, the agreements with Guatemala and Honduras, the various building a wall, the various steps that President Trump took, all of those steps have been undone by this administration, and we have this disaster at the southern border right now.
We continue to follow the humanitarian crisis that stems from the border, the dangerous journey that these migrants are embarking on when they come across the border, the fact that they are relying on cartel members to do so. Does the threat of their own safety come across when you speak to Congress members across the political aisle, the fact that these migrants are embarking on a very dangerous journey when they make this trek?
Yes, I was down at the southern border several months ago with my friend, Congressman Andy Biggs. It's clear that there is a humanitarian crisis. It's clear that we have large quantities of fentanyl crossing the border. And the Democrats don't want to criticize their own president, but they realize that it's hypocritical to say that they have a heart for these people and the difficult economic situation that they're in their home countries, and at the same time not recognize the terrible the evils that are being perpetrated on these people as they try to come into this country. One, they've got the terrible deserts that they have to cross. And then also these cartel members are committing rapes on young girls. We see the evidence of that at the border. We hear the stories about that. It is absolutely hypocritical to not recognize how serious this humanitarian crisis is.
And perhaps it will become a focus of the next Congress in January, but we'll have to wait and see how these midterm elections play out, as always. Colorado Congressman Ken Buck joining us this morning with his take on these topics. Thank you so much, sir, for your time.
Thank you.
You're welcome.